The following is a presentation of WGN Sports.
Irony of all ironies that the Chicago Bulls would begin a new era and season right where they wrapped up their last championship 7 months ago. The Delta Center, Salt Lake City, Utah. Hi, everybody. I'm Wayne Larrabee. Welcome to another season of Chicago Bulls basketball. It's great to have you with us. And we also welcome in a familiar face to our WGN telecast and John Paxson. Pax, looking forward to working with you this year.
So am I, Wayne.
Well, you know, these two teams coming into tonight's game are in stark contrast, no doubt about it. If you look at the favorites going into this NBA season, they're teams that were able to keep themselves together through the lockout and the frenzied offseason, but short free agency period.
Well, and the Jazz are definitely one of those teams, and having been to the Western Conference Finals 5 of the last 7 years, the finals 2 years in a row, they have to be the favorites and must feel that there's some unfinished business. This is a basketball team that's very good offensively. They score well because they execute their offense, and they've been together for a long time. They shoot it well, and they're the best free throw shooting team in the league last year. All those things add up to a real efficient offense.
And you know, John, as far as the Bulls are concerned, for them, what a difference 7 months makes.
Well, the Bulls have lost their power, and you look at a recipe for success: consistent scores, a perimeter game, and a guy like Steve Kerr, and a rebounding personality in Dennis Rodman. You don't have those things, but what it means for this team this year is they're going to have to create their own identity, and all guys are going to have to participate.
Well, new car, new keys, and a couple of the new keys. Well, one is familiar, and the other is brand new. Let's take a look at them.
Well, Toni Kukoc is going to have a chance this year to be the step-up guy, the big scorer. Brent Barry's going to fill in the two-guard spot, a guy that will be exciting to watch. He handles the ball very well. He can shoot it from some distance. These two guys are going to be relied on night in and night out to be the consistent scorers, and that's really where this thing goes this year. Can those two do it?
It's a whole new ball game, isn't it? All right. These two teams, the Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz, tip off their NBA seasons here at the foothills of the Wasatch Mountain Range in Salt Lake City, Utah. Stay tuned. Spotlight is coming up next.
World Champion Chicago Bulls basketball. Brought to you by Miller Lite, who reminds you to think when you drink. Ford, cars that are built to last, trucks that are built Ford tough. Visit your local Ford store today. The McDonald owners of Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. Did somebody say McDonald's? Ward's, we're changing everything to change your mind. AT&T, it's all within your reach. Toyota, every day belongs to you. Make it count. Toyota, every day. And by Southwest Airlines, offering you frequent flights at times you need. Just another way we give you the freedom to fly. Southwest Airlines, a symbol of freedom.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to the Bulls party for NBA basketball.
Hello, Arnie. Okay. I was going to say, let's do a basketball thing about the illegal defenses first, and then the second time you get a chance to do it, let's do the Stones thing. Yeah, I think it'd be better. Okay. Good enough.
Boy, these are the biggest old headsets I've ever had on my head. God. Spotlight tonight for the Chicago Bulls, Toni Kukoc.
Now, Toni Kukoc is going to be the focus offensively for this team this year, and we know that as a starter, he has always had a better attitude and approach to the game. He's been more aggressive, has looked for his shot, and this season, Tony's going to have to be a guy that has to improve on that 11 field goal attempts per game. He should get more opportunities this year.
Stay tuned. The starting lineups, the opening tip coming up next. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4.
Back in the Delta Center, where the pyrotechnics have been incredible here as they introduce the Utah Jazz to the home crowd. Let's take a look at the visitors' starting lineup from Chicago for the Bulls, and the front line packs looks like this.
Oh yeah, Mark Bryan and Andrew Lang, two guys new to the system. Tony, though, coming off a terrific game at Indiana where he got 27 field goal attempts.
And to the backcourt for the Bulls here tonight, Ron Harper and one of the new go-to guys, Brent Berry.
I think Brent's going to be a real exciting addition to this team, and I'm looking forward to watching him play in this two-guard front system.
For the Utah Jazz, a familiar front line.
You have Russell, Malone, and Ostertag, but Malone's the guy that I would expect them to go to early. They're going to see how the Bulls defend him.
And to the backcourt, yes indeed, Jeff Hornacek, Chicagoland product, and John Stockton.
John Stockton still, in my opinion, the best point guard in the league. His numbers are down, but he's still tough to handle in the open court.
So there you have the starting lineups for tonight's opener here at Salt Lake City, Utah. Joining us on the telecast tonight, Dan Rowan. Dan?
Thank you very much, Wayne. Yeah, it took a little bit, but the crowd finally got cranked up in one of the loudest buildings in the NBA. But if you think it's loud tonight, you should have been in here last night. Last night, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and the rest of the Rolling Stones played the Delta Center. The fourth stop on their No Security tour of the United States. A terrific crowd, a terrific show. And even the Stones concert last night illustrated the differences between the Bulls of last year and this year. Brent Berry was in the skybox with us taking in the show.
It was a good show last night. A couple of guys we snuck into the building and saw the Stones. I'm amazed that they have the court out here for tonight. But if we can play with as much energy as Mick Jagger was dancing around stage, we're going to be all right tonight.
John Paxson, you were up in that box last night for that terrific show. But the difference between this year and last year, had Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, or Dennis Rodman been up there, would have taken an army of security guys to get them out of the building. As it was last night, the players who were there just walked out, filed out with the rest of the crowd, not a word was said. So things have definitely changed in that regard.
There's no question it's been easier to get around Salt Lake City this time of year than it was last June.
As part of the NBA program to kind of bridge the gap between the labor strife that actually delayed this season 3 months. Larry Miller, the owner of the Utah Jazz, is speaking to the crowd here prior to the two teams taking the floor. Short and sweet. There is Tim Floyd, and take a look at this. It's the first time since 1957 they got the final. Of course, back in '57 they only had about 6 or 8 teams, right? Back
That's
then.
right. And actually, my dad was playing in the league back in 1957 for the Minneapolis Lakers. So that's a long time to have a matchup like this. But I'm sure the circumstances back there then weren't as unique as they are this year, where one team is totally different than they were a year ago.
Unique right down to the uniforms they're wearing. No, we're not at the United Center, but the Bulls are wearing their home whites here tonight because the Utah Jazz are debuting a new uniform that they'll use as an alternate uniform on the road. And John, they're decked out in a brand new black uniform. The uniform consists of the same design as the current road uniform, but incorporates black as the alternative primary color, of course. The uniform accented with a, well, you and I thought a rust panel, but it's copper.
I always thought it would be strange as a home team player to come out in your road uniform on your home floor, but yeah, this Utah Jazz team, they're so polished and veteran that I'm sure it's an exciting thing for them to come out in something a little different.
You saw the officials, Derek Stafford, David Jones, Derek Richardson were set to go. Lang and Ostertag on the tap, and we're underway. The Bulls control Berry and Harper the backcourt. Bryant up front with Lang and Kukoc. Harper posting Stockton. Blocked by Ostertag.
Utah always uses Ostertag as a help defender, and he roams defensively, so you have to be aware of that. Andrew Lang, can make himself available. But Ron Harper, very good at posting up smaller guards. That's the first possession that the Bulls have. They try to go inside.
Ostertag came to camp in much better shape this year than a year ago. Kukoc side of the backboard. Ostertag is there. Stockton and Hornacek the backboard. Ostertag in the middle. Malone and Russell the forwards. This is Malone. Stockton around Harper, looks for Hornacek.
That's such great vision, Wayne. That time he got up in the air to look like he was going to shoot it, but he saw the cutter going to the basket. That was Jeff Hornacek for the easy score.
Jazz with the early advantage. Berry out at the top. Berry gets the step through the lane.
See, and I think the Bulls can work out of that type of set. They ran their offense, but it ends up in a screen and roll, and that's where Brent Berry is very good at attacking the basket. He has those long strides in the extension where he can get to the rim.
It's a little hazy in here. That's not your picture, folks. That's all the, as I mentioned, pyrotechnics that were a part of the introduction of the Jazz lineup. Talk about cannons and smoke and mirrors. Wow. On the run, Hornacek with the right hand. Hornacek, all 4 Utah points. Bulls triangle to the left side. Now Kukoc. Tony goes to work and is stripped away. Picked up by Ostertag. Stockton out of the backcourt. Malone on the drive. Russell lost the handle but was fouled on the play.
Now, one of the things that you emphasize defensively, especially when you play the Utah Jazz, is to get back in transition defense. They run very well, especially at home, and John Stockton early in games likes to push it up the floor. Karl Malone always filling a lane and running to the basket. Bulls that time not able to get back with enough bodies. They end up having to pick up a foul on Brian Russell.
Russell in his 5th year out of Long Beach State makes good on the Spurs. Bulls fans, tickets for every Bulls home game are now on sale. To purchase tickets, visit the United Center Post box office. Ticketmaster outlets are called 312-559-1212. 312-599-1212. A pair of free throws by Brian Russell. Utah scored 6 of the first 8 points of the game. Here's Harper. Kukoc. Boy, he pinned Russell nicely, didn't he?
He did, and he came from the left side of the floor to that right block, so the Bulls opened up the middle of the court for him, and it was a real nice entry pass where Tony could just catch and make a quick move. No double team or help defense was able to get there in time.
Brent Berry picks up his first foul, 2nd on the team. Well, I imagine the bench will get a good workout of this opener. A lot of people will see action today, or I should say tonight. And you know, with this shortened season, everybody's going to have to go a little deeper on their bench, I think, this year. Around the league. Ostertag on the block against Lang. Nice touch.
Yeah, he looked good shooting that, but that's the shot you want Greg Ostertag to take. Andrew Lang had him well off the block, forced him to the baseline where he had to shoot the turnaround jump shot. The thing you have to do there is take care of the defensive boards if he does miss.
Lang on a low post, working on Ostertag, returns the favor.
And we saw that move from Andrew Lang in the game against Indiana on Monday night. Left hand from the baseline, that time a little closer in, just off the lane.
Stockton gets the lane. Malone able to chase down, but unable to save. Karl Malone, who this summer declared, "I'll never play another game for the Utah Jazz." My, how things change. Take a look at the shooting in the early going, both for good for both sides. Guys say a lot of things in July that they don't mean in January. We've heard it a lot. Here's Toni Kukoc. Nicely done.
Boy, well executed play. They run a little open set where they come across the floor and then set a back screen for Toni. It leaves that right side open. And Tony's been aggressive. He's not hesitating with the shot early in the game.
Harper got a piece of the feed into Russell, but I believe Toni gets called for the push down low. Jerry Sloan, take a look at him. 14th season, one of 3 Bulls to have their numbers retired by the Chicago National Basketball Association club. Russell and Malone couldn't get to it.
Now, Mark Bryant has played Karl Malone a lot, and that time they tried to run a screen and pin Mark Bryant in the lane, but he did a good job of kind of holding Malone up, and miscommunication, a poor pass from Brian Russell down from the top of the circle.
Lang at a high post. 3-second violation call. So the turnover gives it back to Utah. You know, I talked to Mark Bryant this morning about how he intends to play Malone, and the point being, he made the point that you've got to get to the spot, especially in transition, before Karl gets there.
Right, you got to try to get him off the block, because if he gets you deep, he's so big and strong that he's just going to pin you there. You can't get around him. There's really nothing you can do.
Forced an off-balance shot, that time by Malone, but Malone certainly capable of hitting the fadeaway. Jazz by 2. Early going first quarter. Great to have you with us tonight from Salt Lake City, Utah. Double down by Stockton on Kukoc. Bryant gets the look. Bulls keep it alive. Bodies on the floor. No foul. Kukoc had it tipped away. Bryant. And Malone commits the foul on the slap.
You always know as a post defender, Karl Malone's going to strip when you turn in to take that shot, and that's a great job by Mark Bryant of staying strong with the ball and not allowing Malone to get on top of the basketball and get the steal. He's been doing that for years in the playoffs against Shaquille O'Neal. He's played him some, caused some fits down there. And Mark Bryant has some post moves. Bill Cartwright, in talking to him, thinks that he might be, outside of Toni, their best post-up player right now, and he's not comfortable or familiar with the triangle yet. So he's a guy that hopefully they can rely on throwing the ball inside and getting some production from.
6'9", 250. He's had some injury problems in his career, but when healthy, he's been a productive player.
2 years ago in Phoenix, he averaged almost 10 points a game. So he's a guy that's been around the league, had a lot of playoff experience, and probably one of the reasons why he's starting here in the opening game against the Jazz.
Brian Russell on the wing. Tied at 10 apiece in this first quarter. Stockton. Time winding down to the shot clock. Russell for 3, ring it up.
Just enough penetration from Stockton to get the defense to be aware of it and turn their heads. And Brian Russell has learned in this league to fill in the gaps, especially with a great passer like Stockton finds himself open at the three-point line.
Harper's been quiet. 5 minutes gone by, first quarter. Kukoc goes to work. Toni Kukoc comes out and hits 3 from the field. Tony's hit 3 of his first 4 shots. Bulls trail by 1. Ostertag on the block against Lang. Double down from Kukoc. He knocked it out of bounds. 15 to go on the shot clock for the Utah Jazz, at a timeout called on the floor. 6:42 left to go, first quarter. Nip and tuck so far in Salt Lake City. Bulls Bulls and Jazz, and so far the Chicago offense execution pretty good in the early going.
Very good. And we're going to see a little play here where Ron Harper takes it off the dribble, and they clear some space now. They clear out. It leaves the basket area open where Toni Kukoc can now come across the lane and post up deep. And what he does well is on catch, he turns right to the basket. He has the defender pin on his back. He can lay it in. Here he comes across, and there's a great pass from Ron Harper from the corner.
Jazz resume offensively. Malone, a bullet. Russell for the flush. 7 for Brian Russell, and the Jazz lead by 3. Bulls triangle. Harper in the corner, and Stockton moved in on him, picks up the foul. Moments ago,
Karl Malone likes the ball on top of the key. He's very good from there. It looks like he's going to raise up for a shot, but he reads the defense well, understands that Brian Russell's open at the rim. And the Bulls get caught with their heads turned defensively.
Didn't take much, did it? Man, just a quick turn, and they powered it through. Almost halfway through this first quarter, Brent Berry looking for room. Finds Harper at the wing. Bryant down low.
And you saw there where Karl Malone was reluctant to reach in there and strip him, and Mark Bryant was able to turn right into the lane. So, you know, we were concerned about where the Bulls are going to get some post-ups from. Early, we've seen it from Toni Kukoc, and surprisingly, some nice efforts from Mark Bryant down low.
Jazz by 1. Malone met by Harper, and the foul committed by Ron Harper. That's 4 team fouls on the Bulls.
That's always one thing that's difficult with Utah. Last year they averaged 32 free throw attempts per game. It was second to the Lakers in the league. They get there a lot, and so now here you are with 5:50 to go in the first quarter. It's already the 4th team foul for the Bulls, so they're going to be shooting the rest of the way. And the luxury that Utah has is the fact that they execute their offense so well, they can now really milk this and try to get to the free throw line the rest of the quarter.
You saw Isley come in a moment ago. There's Karl Malone. Take a look at these numbers. Malone second to Jordan in the MVP balloting a year ago. Was the MVP 2 seasons ago in the NBA. Malone would have to average 29.9 points a game this season to pass Michael Jordan on the scoring totem pole, NBA all-time. On the block, quick turn by Toni Kukoc, draws a foul on Brian Russell.
And he really looks good down on the block. He's making quick decisions down there, and Utah's not a team that likes to double team. Their defensive philosophy is to collapse to the ball when it gets in the lane. But Toni has size advantage on Brian Russell. The Bulls were able on that possession to work it down into the block to him, and he made a nice quick spin move to the baseline.
And John, one of the points of emphasis in this short preseason for the Bulls was they needed more aggressive play by Toni Kukoc. Take the body on the block, get to the free throw line more often than he has in his career so far.
For his career, he averages just 3 free throw attempts per game, and a lot of that is because he's deferred in the past to Michael and Scotty and Luke Longley down low. But this year, that number has to go up, and in the 2 preseason games, it did. What Tony's going to have to do, though, is make those free throws. Shot just 71% last year. If you're going to get there a lot, for this team, you're going to have to make it.
Make him about over 80%, you would figure. Malone from the outside. The expanse of his game offensively is one of the reasons why he's so hard to defend.
And that was not poor defense by Mark Bryant. He was right up on him and got a hand in his face, but Karl Malone just makes the shot.
Quick double down in the post, and then what do we have? Got a foul coming up on Bryant as he tried to clear out on the back.
You can see Utah's defensive philosophy there. It's a sagging defense. They collapse to the ball, and then they can rotate out. And here's Mark with the post-up position. This is for the first time on the left block. They're saying that elbow. I can't believe that elbow knocks down Karl Malone.
I got to figure Karl Malone will submit that up there at the Sundance Film Festival in Park City this week, and he might win. He sold that pretty well. Isley now, and Hornacek the backcourt. Russell up front still with Malone and Ostertag. Ostertag, nice roll. Didn't get the shot, but it will go to the line.
Another well-executed play by Utah. They run a screen and roll to the left side, and they clear the basket area, so it's wide open. All Ostertag has to do is roll down the lane, and Isley's able to make the over-the-top pass.
So Ostertag heads to the free throw line.
And he was a bit of a disappointment last year.
He was.
He got a big contract, came in out of shape, But they said with this off time, he came in very good shape, and they're going to need him this year because they lost Antoine Carr, who could come in, provide some minutes for them, and they're going to need him to play 30 minutes a game. He's a big body, he's a good defender, and he can block a lot of shots. And he takes some of the rebounding responsibility away from Karl Malone, so they need him to be productive.
He only shot 48% of the free throw line a year ago, and you know, he came back this year in much better shape and looked good in their 2 preseason games against Denver. But last year he was criticized by Karl Malone when he came back out of shape.
Criticized for his work ethic more than anything else.
Kukoc to the fall away. Randy Brown has been inserted into the lineup for the Bulls. He takes Isley out of the backcourt. Jazz leading by 3. Just under 4.5 to go, first quarter. Deflection, and Dickie Simpkins able to intercept. Barry with a nice play defensively. Andrew Lang. Malone the rebound. Utah on the run. Russell in the lane with a jackknife move that draws contact in the foul. It's on Brent Barry. Second on Brent. Bulls are over the foul limit.
The transition game always a key against the Jazz, and here they run well. They run deep with their big guys. You see Ostertag down early on that transition, and Howard Isley is becoming a real polished point guard. I believe playing all these years alongside of John Stockton in practice, he's become a very good point guard, and in their effort to get Stockton off the floor, limit his minutes to some degree, Isley's gotten a lot of time, and he's played very well.
Harper back into the lineup for the Bulls. Barry and Lang lead. Wennington is on for the first time tonight. Well, you know, the point on Howard Isley, he started the first 18 games of last season as Stockton nursed a knee injury. Russell 1 out of 2 at the line, the game's second leading scorer with 8 points. Kukoc leads the way with 9. And Tim Floyd working with one of the newest Bulls, Andrew Lang, on the bench between shifts. Simpkins, 10 to go on the shot clock. Harper. Here's Kukoc. Toni. Ostertag position on Wennington for the rebound. Isley change of direction, and the foul is on Randy Brown, who deflected it loose.
Well, Randy Brown was put in the game when Howard Isley came in, and one of the things the coaches wanted to see was Randy's ability to pressure this guard. Because remember last year in the finals, Howard Isley had a couple really good games, and at that time he was matched up against Steve Kerr, and at times was able to overrun him with his quickness and penetration ability. That's Randy's job, is to try to keep him out of the lane. That looked to me like pretty good defense, where he was able to slide, cut him off, but just gets caught for the bump.
Here comes Thurl Bailey. Ostertag has a seat on the bench, but they're cheering for Thurl Bailey, a longtime favorite here in Utah, has spent the last 4 years playing in Europe.
I came into the league with Thurl Bailey. I've been out for 5 years, so he looks like he's in great shape, though, and he's always had a nice face-up jumper, and he's in a position now where he feels he's back in the league and win a championship.
You need to tell him you came in the league with him? He's that old? Cross-court pass intercepted. Very hard to throw it across the defense against Utah. Randy Brown breaks up the fast break, and Utah will load up some half-court offense. Russell to Malone. Against Dickie Simpkins, the interior feed deflected out of bounds. Last touch by Chicago. 12 to go on the shot clock for Utah. Andrew Lang and teammates looking on. Just over 3 minutes to go in this first quarter. Simpkins knocked it out of bounds. Timeout called by Chicago. Tim Floyd wants to set something up here apparently, and he will talk things over with Tex Winter and company. We've got a break with 3:11 to go in this first quarter, and the Bulls trail by just 6.
Okay, Mike, when you go to get some $50 on this is going courtesy of Tell America. Good job, what are you doing? Celebrate the Jazz season of CCMI Super Ticket from tonight's game. You see a 15% discount on CA Clementine Jeans merchandise. From C Attitude Jeans Club offers now 1 week from tonight. While you're there, and the name trip to a playoff game. See more details.
Leave it to our director, Arnie Harris, to find a Bulls fan here in Jazzland, Salt Lake City. Tomorrow on WGN, Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, Rene Russo, and Wesley Snipes star in a comedy about bats, balls, and one unbelievable season. Major League tomorrow at 7 on WGN. Tuesday, February 9th, the Bulls host the Atlanta Hawks. It's Miller Genuine Draft Championship ring night. 20,000 adults 21 and older entering the United Center receive a Bulls championship ring. Compliments of Miller Genuine Draft. Isley off the inbounds. 4 for Isley off the bench for Utah, and the Jazz lead by 8, their biggest lead of the night. Brown and Harper now the backcourt for Chicago. Kukoc, Wennington, Simpkins up front. Kukoc, they clear it out for him against Russell. 5 to go on the shot clock, Chicago. Harper tees up a 3, ring it up.
A good ball movement that time. They tried to run a screen and roll, weren't able to get it. They kept moving the ball. Ron Harper was the open man in the right corner.
Jazz lead is 5. Malone on the block against Simpkins. Isley pops wide open for a moment. Takes Kukoc off the dribble.
Now they forced a switch because on the post pass they ran a squeeze between their guards. Toni Kukoc stepped out on Isley but didn't take away the drive. He let him go right to the basket.
Isley 2 for 2 from the field. 4, making 6 points in the game. Wennington from the outside.
They banked it in, and maybe a step or two out of Bill's range. He looked at the bench like he wanted to do that, but you know Bill, his strength is to shoot the basketball, and he is not going to hesitate when he's out on the floor.
Miscue, nearly a turnover. Bailey able to recover. 10 to go on the shot clock. Here's Hornacek operating on Harper. Tough shot. Rebound, Ron Harper. Boy, that was a good piece of defense by Harper. Under 2 minutes to go, first quarter. Kukoc. Malone the rebound. Tony point blank range, couldn't finish. Oh, nicely done. Beautiful passing on the break. Hornacek to Thurl Bailey for the flush.
Well, the key to their transition is that they run wide. They get 2 guys out running wide and deep, and it allows the third player coming down to run right down the middle of the floor. They've gotten 2 scores that way, one off a couple free throws, and that possession right there, an easy score.
Utah by 7. Coming up on a minute to go in this first quarter. Wennington blocked by Bailey. Here comes Isley. Hornacek baseline, nowhere to go with it. Now they set it up. 10 to go on the shot clock, Utah. Hornacek off the dribble against Kukoc. It's an open look for Bailey, an air ball. He did look 37 on that shot.
You're right.
I could have done that. 43. There's the difference. Shot clock on the left, game clock on the right. Randy Brown shoved by Isley. Isley's first. It's the first in the last 2 minutes by Utah.
Now the Bulls will have a chance to play for the last shot of the quarter, and they're down 7, cut it to 5, and they've played very well in this first quarter. Their offense has been crisp, and defensively they've done a pretty good job.
Harper for 3. His second tray of the quarter. Bulls trail by just 4. Isley hustles into the front court. It's an open look for Russell. Heel to the rim, and the first quarter comes to a close. All things considered, Toni Kukoc leads Chicago to within 4 at the end of 1. Kukoc 4 of 7 from the field, and the new look Bulls are hanging right in there with the old look Utah Jazz. It's a 4-point ball game, 29-25 Utah at the end of 1. We welcome you back to the Delta Center. Wayne Larrabee, John Paxson. Bulls, good first quarter offensively, Pax.
Well, they played very well. They shot it well, 59%, but they moved the basketball real well. Here, Utah scrambled defensively. Bill Wennington does a real nice job finding the open shooter. Harper gets his feet set for one of his 2 3-pointers in the quarter. But the Jazz on the run. Here they get their guys running deep, and Jeff Hornacek a terrific behind-the-back pass. But the Bulls did limit them in their transition game.
Bulls shot almost 59%. Utah 71%. There's a feed over the top into the post. Shandon Anderson to the foul coming up against Chicago's Keith Booth. Booth in the ball game for the first time tonight. Utah now with Isley, Shandon Anderson, as they try to go back to Shandon Anderson. And Thurl Bailey on the floor. Keith as well. Let's take a look at tonight's game stats brought to you by AT&T. It's all within your reach. There, a look at those numbers. I mentioned Utah 10 of 14 from the field. Keith Booth had it knocked away by Shandon Anderson. Picked up by Malone. This is Isley on the run. Bailey smartly sets it up back outside. Brown got a piece of it, knocked it out of play.
It looked like it was Bulls ball. It looked like it went off Isley, but there's a real good indicator of what the emphasis for the Bulls is. They got back defensively, took away the rush up the floor, and end up getting now an opportunity to set their defense against Utah.
If we saw anything in the preseason games against Indiana, we saw the Bulls have pretty quick hands. They averaged 14 steals a game in those 2 games against Indiana.
That's right. They forced 29 turnovers in one game and 20 in the other. So they did. They got their hands on a lot of passes. We saw that in the first quarter as well.
Illegal defense against the Bulls, their first violation. And the Jazz are trying to make a switch here, and for a moment had 6 men on the floor. Finally, they get Malone off. Jerry Sloan, a late substitution there. It's Phil Johnson to Jerry's right, left side of your screen as you look at it. Well, they've been here for a while as well.
A lot of continuity to this entire organization, and one of the reasons that they've been so successful.
Isley penetrates just a bit. Anderson on the drive. Nicely done.
Again, the penetration, the Bulls forced him back, Howard Isley back into traffic. But when you close out on a guy like Shandon Anderson, you got to close out expecting drive, force him to take a couple long perimeter shots.
Wennington gets an open look. Booth quick to the ball. They reload the shot clock for the Bulls. Bryant against Anthony Avent. Now Harper right back to Bryant. Avent reaching in, and he's called for the foul.
And one of the things I like that Tim Floyd has done here in this first half is in the first quarter he came with 3 guys off the bench. Randy Brown, Dickie Simpkins, Bill Wennington. All veterans, all guys familiar with the system, so they didn't lose a beat when they substituted. Here in this quarter, Keith Booth is in. He stayed away from playing some of the young guys right now.
Some of the new guys, Andrew Lang, Mark Bryant, they ran the offense pretty well. Booth looking back door. Time winding down to the shot clock. Booth to the fall-away. Got a push on the rebound. Loose ball foul, Bill Wennington.
See, and that's Keith Booth's tendency right there. He likes playing with his back to the basket, and he had a much bigger player on him in Adam Keith. He's going to have to learn to face there. If he has a cleared area, take him off the dribble. If not, move the ball on and just play out inside your offense.
Avent sets the screen. Isley gets the open look. Booth and the Bulls will try to run on this. Randy Brown the pull-up. Booth is there. Again. Just couldn't finish it. And a loose ball foul on Bryant. Mark Bryant's 3rd personal. Already 3 team fouls on the Bulls here in the second quarter. Timeout on the floor. Mark Bryant in early foul trouble in this one. We are early going in the second quarter. 9:50 left to go. Second period. The Utah Jazz have a 31-25 lead over the Chicago Bulls. Pax, I haven't seen any of what they worked on yesterday.
Right, they're holding it.
Yeah.
They that time they were trying on the screen and roll to send it baseline, but they didn't. And they got Isaac got the long shot, but they didn't score off of it. So
okay.
I think he's holding all that to just see if, you know. Yeah.
And we haven't seen a lot of post-up
John.
Malone anyway.
No.
Yeah.
You want to do that sideline hit about that illegal defense stuff?
Yeah. You mean as far as the practice stuff, how they're going to stretch the 2 points?
Yeah, how they were going to
can?
play in those zone principle type things.
Yes. Okay.
I'll do that coming back, and then you guys can go with it.
Great. You're going to take it out of break, okay?
'Cause they just got their first.
Well, the exhibition of the cool down with a presentation of Coca-Cola Classic. Other Coca-Cola products at your nearest concessions. And
Okay.
always courtside, always Coca-Cola. Bears up their making his 90 doesn't need to.
Okay. All right.
On Thursday, February 11th, when the Bulls host the New York Knicks, it's Mother's Bread Lunch Bag Night. 5,000 kids, first 5,000, 14 of them, they're entering the United Center, receive a Bulls lunch bag compliments of Mother's Bread. Utah resumes offensively. Avent in the post, making like Malone.
He's a new addition to their team, and he played in the league for a couple years. In fact, Frank Hamlin was in Milwaukee as an assistant when Anthony Avent played there, and he liked his game. He has a little bit of a post game, as we saw there, and he's another big body. That's where they improved their team. They've added some bulk in Avent and Fuller to their lineup.
Fuller they just picked up yesterday. Todd Fuller, former North Carolina State star. Time winding down to the shot clock. Harper, another tray. Why not? It's 3 for Harper.
You know, interesting stat about Ron Harper from last year is he shot better on the road than he did at home, especially from the three-point line. Couldn't make a 3 in the United Center, but shot very well when he was away from there.
Avent backing Lang. Anthony Avent with a couple of post-up buckets.
Well, he showed the turn to the baseline the first time, and now Andrew Lang doesn't take that away, so he lets him power into the middle of the lane. The Bulls haven't shown any double team. They want to play one-on-one post defense, especially against Anthony Avent, but he got too deep on that possession.
I think the Bulls are saving some of their double team tactics for a little bit later on in the ball game, and probably saving him for Malone, not Avent. Booth comes up short on that, and Avent sealed it off and allows it to bounce out of bounds. Utah basketball. Jazz are leading by 7. And they've gotten 14 off the bench. This is a very deep veteran ball club, as we talked earlier. Avent once again. This time Harper sneaks inside for the rebound. Toni completes the triangle, gets it in the post. Tough move by Kukoc. He drew the foul. It's on Avent, and it's his second personal.
And that's something we didn't see a lot of from Toni in the last couple of years. He ran down to that post spot aggressively, took the post, and even against a taller defender that time, he attacked him. And Toni has good footwork when he's down on the block. He showed a lot early the year that Michael was out, and Toni was a scorer for this team primarily. He showed great footwork down on the block, and that time again, just the confidence that he shows right now is really big for this team, because he's going to have to be the guy they rely on to score every night.
Toni splits a pair at the line. He's 2 out of 4 from the charity stripe tonight. Jazz are leading by 6. Coming up on 7.5 to go, first half. Stockton. Avent once again on Kukoc. Will make that thorough Bailey. The shot will not count. The push on Kukoc before the shot attempt.
And you see Tim Floyd, as soon as John Stockton comes in the game, he counters with Ron Harper to that defensive assignment. He likes that. Obviously, the Bulls staff that was here last year, they've talked to him about the matchups that worked well in the finals. Ron Harper playing John Stockton is something that works well for the Bulls.
Anderson, Bailey, Stockton, thorough make that to Avent, and Keefe on the floor for the Utah Jazz. Avent throws it away. Cornell David on the run and makes it go.
The Bulls again just filling in the gaps defensively. They come up, sneak up from the weak side, and force a turnover.
4-point Utah lead. Under 7 minutes to go, second quarter. Adam Keefe off a nifty feed from Thurl Bailey in the post, and a foul coming up.
And that's Cornell David's inexperience on the floor and not being familiar with the Jazz offense. He allowed a baseline cut, he turned his head, and the Jazz, a terrific passing team, they recognize it and get the score.
Toni Kukoc has picked up his third personal foul. Adam Keefe's flush gives Utah a 6-point advantage with 6:52 to go.
Sponsoring our game, and now 10,000 magnetic calendars at the doors.
One, two, three, four, five. How about the Hungarian Michael Jordan? We love him. Who was wearing it?
Yeah. Coming back to what?
It was stylish 20 years ago. Dan Roan back at the Delta Center. Just a note on the Bulls defense. In practice yesterday, they worked on a lot of double teaming in the post, which they haven't really shown yet tonight. They have only been called for one illegal defense so far. They were playing areas and not men yesterday in practice. Of course, on that last play down the floor, Cornell David was playing no defense. That's something they're going to have to work on down in the post, John and Wayne.
Especially in transition, Dan, no question about it. And yeah, they were stretching the principles of man-to-man defense as close as they could get it to a zone yesterday. A lot of talk about 2.9 seconds, you know. Mario Bennett in the game for the first time tonight for the Bulls. Harper on the block against Stockton. Avent was coming on a double team. That got an open look for Cornell David. Shandon Anderson the rebound. Stockton on the run. Bulls back quickly. Stockton all the way.
Nobody picked up the basketball, and again, it's their ability to run wide and deep that leaves that whole area open for a good point guard, and John Stockton as good as anybody at reading what's available to him, and no one stopped the basketball.
They covered the other options, but the main option was there. Right down the middle. David. And again, they clear it out for him. Here's Harper. Quick pull-up on Stockton. David, the offensive rebound. To the left hand. Nicely done off the glass. I don't think he called it, but it counts. 7-point lead, Utah. Under 6 minutes to go, first half. Barry fronting Anderson. They go over the top. Help came late, and a foul coming up.
I'm not sure you have to front that post play. Shandon Anderson is a good poster, and when Karl Malone's out of the game, he might be the second best post player they have on the team, but when that backside is cleared like that, and you've got a great passer on the wing in John Stockton, it's too easy of a play to allow him to throw it over the top unless you're putting great pressure on the basketball. Even then, he can make that play. But you may want to play behind him and then sink or double team from the top. Right now, that play has worked effectively, and Utah getting to the free throw line again.
Brent Berry picks up his third personal foul moments ago. Toni Kukoc has 3 personal fouls. As Shandon Anderson hits another, Mark Bryant has 3 personal fouls.
Well, and this is where we talk about depth, and it's going to force Tim Floyd to put in some young players unfamiliar with the system. And this is a true test. This is where you can lose some ground against a very veteran team.
Well, he's going to have to get longer minutes from his bench. You're right. Harper gets baseline on the drive. Didn't quite finish. Cornell David battling on the board. Thurl Bailey, the veteran, came away with it. Shandon Anderson, and got a blocking foul on Randy Brown. Bulls are over the foul limit. Brown picks up his second.
Here's the block. Randy looks like he does a good job of anticipating where Stockton's going to go, and looked like he had his feet down. Stockton's a little out of control initiating the contact. That's the second time now that Randy has tried to anticipate that and picked up the foul both times.
Corey Carr comes into the ball game for the first time tonight. Stockton, annually one of the best free throw shooters in basketball. And take a look at John Stockton. His assists going down each year, injured the early part of last year. And they've had a few more options in terms of running their offense over the last couple of years than just John Stockton.
Well, and with the development of Isley, they're looking long term. John Stockton's not going to play forever, and they have a guy who's just sitting behind him, and Howard Isley is going to pick up the slack when he does eventually retire.
Can you picture this franchise without Stockton and Malone?
No, I cannot.
I mean, they'd have to change the logo. Foul inside called by David Jones, and this one's on Shandon Anderson of the Utah Jazz, his first. That's 3 on the team. So at the free throw line, Mario Bennett gets a pair, and the Bulls not taking advantage of their free throw opportunities. Kukoc 2 for 4, Bennett 0 for 1 now at the line.
Not one of Mario Bennett's great strengths. Stepping up at the free throw line, he shot just 36% with the Lakers last year in the games that he played. What he is a guy that can get on the floor, run, he's active, he can rebound, but he does not feel comfortable at the free throw line.
Ostertag back in for Thurl Bailey. Bennett 1 out of 2 at the line. 44-34, the lead is 10 for the Utah Jazz. Just under 5 minutes to go in this first half. Stockton checked by Brown. Lang the rebound. Andrew Lang needs some help, finds Corey Carr. Mario Bennett. Stockton and Utah in transition. Yes, and a foul. Yes, and it counts.
That's just John Stockton in the open floor, recognizing who he had back defensively. Corey Carr, a young player, got him back on his heels. You see Corey just backpedaling, and once he feels the contact, he knows he's going to go up and take the shot. Ends up knocking it in, and Bulls pick up another foul. And we've seen now in both quarters, the Bulls obviously in foul trouble, but they've gotten fouls early in the quarters. It's put Utah on the line. This is a team that, because they execute their offense so well, they're going to continue to pound it at you, and they're going to get to the free throw line a lot.
First in the league in free throw shooting a year ago at 77%, the Utah Jazz. And that's a high percentage for a team. Rusty LaRue in for the first time this evening. LaRue lost it on a behind-the-back dribble, picked up on the play by Stockton. Utah's lead is 13. Ostertag leveled LaRue on a screen. Meanwhile, Shandon Anderson cleans it up off the glass.
And the Bulls may need to stop this run. You look on the floor right now, they don't have any real scorers out there. And this is a chance for Tim Floyd to take a timeout, try to get organized and get something going offensively.
The Utah Jazz on a run with 3:51 to go in this first half of play. And the Bulls take a timeout. Utah enjoying its biggest lead of the night on a 14-3 run. Anticipate those.
Gotten away.
Yeah. Real quick. And you know what?
Real quick.
Transition defense, and that's something that you mentioned on the telecast the other night and that Tim was mentioning in practice. That was his big concern, transition defense. Can you show us? To 3 run. How quick has it been? How many minutes?
Okay.
Of course, Rusty's a Rusty's a football player, so he doesn't go down easy. Didn't take long. Utah in the last 4 minutes, a 14-3 run, and much of it in transition.
We're going to see a close-up of the screen leveled by Greg Ostertag on Rusty LaRue. That's generally the big player's responsibility to alert that that screen's coming up. And Bulls trying to get some penetration where there isn't any room, and here's the run up the floor.
Bulls resume offensively. You get the feeling, Pax, as you mentioned, this is a crucial juncture of the ball game for Chicago. Cornell David just couldn't finish it on a good move through the lane.
And it just shows you what the problems are for the Bulls team when they get guys like Kukoc in foul trouble or Ron Harper out of the game. They really don't have anybody now who can take up the slack offensively. Brent Berry has 3 fouls. He hasn't even been a factor offensively yet. There's been no shots out there for him. So you're really struggling once you have to get past those guys looking for scoring opportunities.
Wennington gets a good look. His second from the field. He has 4.
Well, and that's a nice play because you know Ostertag doesn't want to drift out there with Bill, and if he can catch it, get a little room, and go up quickly with his shot, he can knock that down.
Stockton against LaRue. Karl Malone.
And there's Cornell David again. He was supposed to be the guy rotating up to Karl Malone because the Bulls forced that screen and roll to the baseline, but he was late in coming, and you just cannot give Karl Malone that open a shot.
Utah by 15 once again. And got a foul coming up here, and it's going to be on Chris King, who just reported on. Let's pause for station identification. Harper resumes for Chicago. LaRue for 3. Ostertag kept it alive. Cornell David picks it off. Harper picked up by King. Wennington to Harp, baseline. Last touch by Utah will be Chicago basketball. 3. LaRue on the inbounds. Harper able to connect.
Real nice out of bounds play. The Bulls have worked hard on these, and that time they just set a screen. Ron Harper as the screener. They open up the middle of the floor, and he rolls right to the basket. They get the easy score. A well executed out of bounds play.
Coming up on 2 minutes to go, first half. Malone trying to thread the needle, and it went off Chris King, not Cornell David. But hang on, they're going to confer now.
Well, they ran the same play that got Karl Malone the jump shot just a minute ago. That time the Bulls did a better job of hedging on it and making Karl Malone think about it, and then he had to try to make a cross-court pass.
Tim Floyd is not going to get the benefit of this reversal. It goes to Utah on the reverse call. 9 seconds to go on the shot clock for the Jazz. King, blocking foul coming up on Cornell David. David picks up his first. Cornell David really struggling mostly on the defensive end here in this first half.
Well, I think it's hard for any European player to come over into this league and understand how to play one-on-one defense. I mean, you've got to really be able to get down, slide your feet, understand how it is to play in a physical type of game, and that's obviously where he lacks. Understanding just basic things off the ball, on the ball. He doesn't have any problem offensively. He's very aggressive. He will look for his shot, but that was just a situation where they isolated for Chris King and took Cornell David off the dribble.
Bulls trail by 13 on a pair of free throw misses by Chris King, and here's Harper. Picked up by Shannon Anderson. Simpkins comes into the post. Illegal defense, Utah.
Yep, John Greg Ostertag, the Bulls. That was the play they ran in the first quarter to get Toni Kukoc to that deep post position. And when you have a big guy like Ostertag, sometimes you want to lift him up above that free throw line. He was reluctant to come up. It's an illegal defensive call.
Harper against Anderson, blocked on the play. Jazz on the run. Chris King off the hand of Stockton and out of play. Apparently last touch by the Bulls. It'll belong to Utah. Well, the Jazz very quick into their transition tonight. Shandon Anderson double dribble.
He sure did. That's a good call by the official.
He had a notion to just set and fire that for 3, but his second thought forced him into the turnover.
Now, this is an important minute and a half. If the Bulls can get a couple of scores here and stop Utah at the other end, at least they'll have accomplished something to finish the quarter and have, feel that they're in the basketball game going into halftime. You don't want to allow this thing to get out of hand in the next minute and a half.
And they've dodged a couple of bullets here in the last 2 possessions by Utah. Under 10 to go on the shot clock. Cornell David gets the step through the lane and floated it over Ostertag off the glass. Nicely done.
He's shown a nice left hand twice in this game. Once on the block where he turned the lane, that time off the dribble. We said he doesn't hesitate offensively, so he can give them some scoring.
Anderson posting Harper, and Harp commits the foul. Just to finish a little bit on Cornell David, you and I were talking in practice yesterday how he kind of facially looks a little bit like Toni Kukoc. Well, he's a little Tony in his game as well.
Yeah, he does. And I think the European players, they're very similar in the way they play, and they have an attacking style offensively. They're generally pretty good shooters from the perimeter, and he has shown that ability. So he just has to now concentrate and focus on the defensive end of the floor, because in situations like this, the Bulls are in foul trouble. He's going to get some minutes.
Under a minute to go in this first half. The Bulls are trailing now by 12. Shandon Anderson second at the line. Anderson became Utah's weapon off the bench a year ago. Malone took it away from Wennington.
Well, you hate to give those up. A missed free throw, and it was almost as if Bill walked under the basket to try to get that rebound, never put a body on Karl Malone, and he gets an easy score.
You're right, he got pinned too deep. Harper. Foul coming up against the Jazz. And it's going to be on Anderson, his second personal.
And I like that offense just from the standpoint they're running a screen and roll involving Greg Ostertag as a defender. Now, he's already seen Bill Wennington slide out a couple times and hit that jump shot, so he didn't want to step out and take the ball out of Ron Harper's hand. He stayed with Bill Wennington, and that allowed Ron Harper to turn the corner, get into the lane, and draw the foul.
Harp with 12 points in the ball game. 3 of those 4 field goals were from beyond the arc. 13 for Harper. Stockton. Kick back Anderson for 3. Ring it up. Line drive right on the money. Shandon Anderson has 10. Utah leading once again by 15. Shot clock on the left, game clock on the right side of your screen. 10 to go on the shot clock for the Bulls. Cornell David glides baseline to the reverse, knocked out of bounds by Stockton. 5 to go on the shot clock. Bulls fans, tickets for every Chicago Bulls home game are now on sale. To purchase tickets, visit the United Center box office, Ticketmaster outlets, or call 312-559-1212. Harper. Cornell David working hard.
Now you want to get back and stop them from running up the floor.
Stockton hustling for the last shot to Malone. No, but a bailout foul, and it's coming up on the veteran Ron Harper. 2-shot foul for Karl Malone with 0.6 seconds remaining.
And I disagree with that call. Harp was back, looked like he went straight up, but Karl Malone initiates contact a lot of the times that he's taking shots like that, and he just kind of threw the ball up and threw himself into Ron Harper a little bit, and the official knows that. That's an opportunity for him to just ignore whatever happened in that situation. He knows what Karl Malone's trying to do. I think that's a poor call in that situation.
I agree with you, but Malone gets those calls here. There's not much question about that. 12 points, Karl Malone in this first half. Long inbounds, Cornell David, broken up by Chris King as the first half comes to a close. Tim Floyd, Chicago Bulls lost their grip a little bit on this game down the stretch. Karl Malone and the Utah Jazz head to the locker room at halftime, enjoying a 15-point advantage at 59-44. Halftime is coming up next. It was a 4-point ball game at the end of one quarter and 15-point game at halftime as the Utah Jazz, with about 4 minutes to go in the first half of play, had gained control of the game a little bit. They got on a run of 14-3 over a 4-minute period there, and that staked them to the lead they enjoy here now.
Utah played well. They did what they do well, that's run their offense and run the transition game. And the Bulls played pretty well, and we're going to take a look at some highlights in the first half. Here you see Toni Kukoc get a little penetration. The Bulls got Utah scrambling, and Toni came out really looking for a shot. He had 10 points in the first half before he got into some foul trouble. Here's a nice kick out from Bill Wennington across the floor. One of Ron Harper's three-point field goals in the first half. But Utah's bench has been very good in the first half. 25 points off the bench. Some productivity from Anthony Avent. We saw 2 nice post moves from him. And here's a transition game on a great pass from Jeff Hornacek. Thurl Bailey finishes that play. And we're going to take a look at what Utah does well. And here you have John Stockton on the wing. The Bulls want to force him to baseline and slide Dickie Simpkins here as Stockton comes down. But what you need on the weak side is rotation. And Cornell David does not make the run here to take Karl Malone when he steps out. And that leaves Karl Malone wide open for a jump shot. So you have the Bulls. You see Rusty LaRue jump on Stockton's right shoulder. There's the sink, but the rotation's not there. And Karl Malone loves that elbow shot from about 15 feet.
Let's take a look at the Toyota first half stats. The Bulls, who shot close to 60% of that first quarter, or better than that even, sagged in that second quarter where they only scored 19 points. Utah shot at a very high clip, over 70% throughout the entire first half of play. The Bulls did a pretty good job on the boards, but they had more missed shots to field than did Utah. Second half is coming up from the Delta Center. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah. Okay, so again, you got a shot clock on, you got a shot chart on Malone. Okay, is that the first thing you're going to show me? I'm sorry. We were. Wayne Larrabee, John Paxson back in Salt Lake City. Utah Jazz leading by 15. Karl Malone, of course, one of the main instigators for Utah. Off the missed free throw here, he gets Bill Wennington getting a little shove, pins him deep, rebounds, and the easy putback. The shot chart on Karl Malone. 4 made, no misses as of yet, and everything right around the lane except for 1. And the Ward leading scores. Harper, Kukoc, much of that first quarter for the Bulls. Malone, Anderson off the bench with 10 for Utah. We resume third quarter. Brian Russell scores inside, and he is fouled on the play. Mark Bryant picks up his 4th personal foul.
They just cut you up. They execute so well. They come out obviously with a set situation. They know they're going to start the half with possession of the ball, and they get Stockton on top of the floor. They bring Brian Russell acting like he's going to come out and take a jumper, but he just back cuts behind Toni Kukoc's vision. And Mark Bryant gets caught trying to get in some help defense, and he picks up another foul.
4 on Bryant, so the foul problems continue for the Bulls. And that was a lot of why they sagged in that second quarter. Much of their bench had to play. Berry, oh, nice look to Bryant. Excellent interior feed by Brent Berry.
It was a good cut, first of all, a good speed cut that got him open at the basket. The defense had to help, but that's where Brent Berry's really good. He has great vision.
Hornacek, and got a foul coming up on Malone on the screen.
You see the Bulls here. Nice pass from Andrew Lang. Good footwork. Sees Brent Berry cutting and gets shielded by the official, but Great vision by Brent Berry. That's what you want to get him, opportunities where he has the ball and can make plays like that.
Berry had a chance to set on that three-point attempt. Kukoc trying to keep it alive, and Hornacek chases down. Steal by Berry. He won a slam dunk contest. What was it, either last year or the year before, I believe it was.
And he's got long arms. You saw him anticipate that pass from Hornacek to Stockton. He was able to get his hand on it. And he's terrific in the open floor. A nice finish by Brent Berry.
2 years ago as a rookie, he won that slam dunk contest. Great interior feed, Malone to Stockton.
Well, you talk about expanding your game. We talked about his range stepping out on the floor, but he's been a great passer the last 5 or 6 years of his career, averaging about 4 assists per game. And that was just a perfect example. No pressure on him at the top of the circle, and he's able to thread the needle.
Brent Berry gets Andrew Lang a look. Russell the rebound. Utah leading 64-48. Early going third quarter. Touch pass to Malone, not quite there from Hornacek. Off the turnover, here come the Bulls. Kukoc against Russell. Drew contact and the foul. Ryan Russell's second personal. Opening 2 minutes in this third period. Toni Kukoc to the free throw line, where in the first half he was just 2 of 4. Here's what's on tap for the Bulls, brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft, official beer sponsor of the Chicago Bulls. Thursday night, the New York Knicks come to town. Bullseye at 7, and we'll have the game on the WGN Superstation for you. 12 points now for Kukoc, and the lead is 14 for Utah. Stockton. Boy, there is some gargantuan pushing and shoving going on off the ball. And they get Andrew Lang on the foul for Chicago. That's Andrew's second on the team, as he and Malone seem to get tied up.
Well, the Bulls have had to make a switch now because Mark Bryant has 4 fouls. They've moved Andrew Lang over to play Malone, and he's just trying to keep him from getting position. Beautiful feed.
Stockton to Russell. Unable to finish as Brian Russell, and the Bulls dodge another bullet. Brent Berry. Taken away by Stockton. In on Harper.
Did a great job of using his body to shield himself away from Ron Harper. He knew Harper was coming from the backside defensively, just used his body, went up and under. But the Bulls have done a lot of dribble penetration and into traffic, and it's caused turnovers from their part. And now they're not even getting shots at the basket.
16-point lead, biggest of the night for Utah. Kukoc again hacked by Russell, but no foul. The ball tipped out of bounds by Russell. It'll belong to Chicago. 7 to go on the shot clock for the Bulls. Well, Brian Russell, this is a tough matchup for him against Toni Kukoc on that end of the floor.
Well, I think Tony has to be a little more patient. He rushed that possession a little bit, never got his feet set, and allowed Russell to take the ball away.
Kukoc with a tray. It appeared to be an improbable shot. I mean, I thought he was looking to pass from there. Bulls down by 13. Stockton to Malone. Bulls rotating quickly on defense. 5 to go on the shot clock. Hornacek squares. Kukoc the rebound. Boy, good set of defense for the Bulls there on that trip. Berry for 3, and suddenly the Bulls are back to within 10.
Now, Brent can shoot that shot. Over his career, he shot better than 40%, and that was just a nice job of looking up the floor and seeing Brent open in the right corner, and it was because he ran deep and wide all the way to the right corner of the floor.
In Paxton, Brent is a good shooter when he gets 2 feet on the ball and 2 hands on the ball. 2 feet on the floor, 2 hands on the ball.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider him a jump shooter. He's more of a set shooter, and when he does get himself squared to the basket, he shoots it real easily from long distance.
Bulls trailing by 10. He gets 2 feet on the ball, he's got problems. Almost 4 minutes gone by in the third. Here's Kukoc. Picked up on a switch by Ostertag. Harper penetrates. Harp thought he had a foul there, but no call. Stockton to Hornacek.
Well, they never got matched. They tried to run back defensively. They didn't take away the angle that Hornacek was running at. Brent Berry got back, just kind of ran even with him. And that's what the coaches were talking about this morning in shoot around, the fact that you have to run ahead of this team. You cannot run even. They'll get shots like that.
Tony double down from Hornacek. Kukoc again. Had it slapped away in a foul. It looked like Russell on the reach, and that's the foul. Brian Russell's third personal.
It seems like John Stockton's been pushing the ball before the entire game. And here you see Brent Berry just gets even with Hornacek, never takes away the angle. Mark Bryant doesn't want to pick up his fifth foul, so he shies away from the contact, and Hornacek gets the layup.
This is a team that is known for Stockton to Malone and half-court offense, but really, John, Utah is a team that likes to run.
They absolutely like to run, and that's one of the things that the Bulls have not been able to really get a body on rebounders and hold that break up. When Utah's gotten rebounds, they've been able to throw it out quickly, and that's where all the trouble begins, because now you're able, with John Stockton, give him all his options on the floor.
Utah's lead is 11. Stockton. Russell for two.
Now there's that defense that the Bulls are trying to play against the screen and roll. Force Stockton to the baseline, use the big man to slide down and seal, and then the rotations begin, but it's a long run to get to that corner pass. That's what's open. The Jazz are realizing that now, and they're trying to find the weak side shooters.
Kukoc knocked away by Russell, and they've called another foul on him. That is 3 on Brian Russell in this third quarter. He has 4 in the game. 6:49 to go in the third. Jerry Sloan and company have led by as many as 16. Their lead over the Bulls right now is 13 points.
Any info for us? Any injuries? No blood, though. Got some foul trouble, but outside of that.
Anything coming back, guys? I got it, Jane. I got it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I love this. Wayne Larrabee, John Stockton back in Utah. Here's a look at the upcoming Bulls schedule, brought to you by your local Ford store. Quality people, quality products. Sunday night at LA against the Clippers. Tuesday night home opener against the Atlanta Hawks. They'll raise the championship banner that night. Thursday night, our next game, it's the New York Knicks. Bullseye at 7 o'clock on the WGN Superstation. And then Sunday, February 14th, the San Antonio Spurs come to town. Toni Kukoc at the free throw line. 9 points in that first quarter. He has resurrected his game offensively here in the third.
And again, it's been his willingness to attack and be aggressive. And Brian Russell, probably that last possession, bailed him out a little bit. But again, Toni kind of splitting his free throws. That's the third time that he's had 2 chances to shoot him up there. And he's split them 3 of the 4 times he's had free throw opportunities.
Andrew Lang with the rebound that gives the Bulls another opportunity here. Kukoc with the turnaround over Shandon Anderson. 19 for Toni. And the Bulls back to within 10.
Good patience. He knows he has the size to shoot over the top of Shandon Anderson. I'm a little surprised John Stockton was right there with help defense. He didn't leave Ron Harper to come and double team.
Hornacek on the runner. Good movement away from the ball by Horny. Gets him the open shot.
Just a nice screen that freed him up, and he's so good at making those little running shots off balance in the lane.
Things look easy, not easy to accomplish. Kukoc with a leaner. Ostertag the rebound. Stockton on the move. Bulls back pretty quickly here on this defensive set. Hornacek to Malone against Bryant. Not much Mark Bryant could do to challenge Karl Malone. Bryant in foul trouble with 4. 12-point lead Utah. Bulls resume offensively. Andrew Lang waiting for a cutter. 5 to go on the shot clock. Toni to the left hand. Nicely done. 21 for Kukoc.
The last time on Shandon Anderson, he turned into the middle of the floor and scored. That time he recognized that Utah was coming from the top, so he went away from the double team and freed himself up for that little baseline shot.
Stockton. Malone being fronted this time by Andrew Lang. Some pushing and shoving in the post, and what do they got? A foul coming up on Malone.
3-second violation.
They call 3 seconds. Yeah, it is not a foul, but a 3-second violation. You're right.
Well, you know, if you're fronting a player down low and you're pinning him in the lane, it's got to be a quick pass. And Ron Harper that time had active hands on John Stockton on the wing. Stockton didn't make the pass, so right there you have Malone stuck in the lane. Official makes the right call along the baseline.
Isley in the ball game now for Stockton. Cornell David is back. 8 points in the second quarter for the Bulls. Kukoc. Harper. Boy, Harper had an open look if he wanted it. Kukoc off the weave. Cornell David and Andrew Lang play each other off the ball, and here come the Jazz with the break. Anderson, yes, to the foul.
Well, Brent Berry did the right thing by trying to take the charge, but he never got outside that dotted line area underneath the basket. He had both feet inside of it, and when that happens, it's an automatic call for the officials where they know that it's a block. Here you see Brent retreating, and you see him just inside. I mean, if your feet are on that line, it's considered inside the line. Brent never got outside of it, never looked down to see if he was outside of it, so it's a block.
Corey Carr getting ready to come in for Brent Berry. Berry's got 4 personal fouls. Anderson 13 off the bench for Utah, and the Jazz again lead by 11.
And it's really too bad because Brent came out in this third quarter very aggressive looking for a shot because he only got 1 in the first half. It's too bad he's going to have to come out of the game.
Berry for 3.
See, those shots are always available against Utah if you can get any type of penetration, because as we talked about, their defense goes to the lane on penetration. They want to stop the easy score inside. So if you have guys who can hit that spot-up shot, you know, they're very valuable, and Brent Berry's done that here in the third quarter.
Either Cornell David or Toni Kukoc both were out of position, and they're guilty of an illegal defense. That's the second violation on the Bulls, and that will precipitate a free throw for Jeff Hornacek. Tim Floyd pacing the sidelines as Hornacek, a Chicagoland native, sets up at the line. Son of a high school coach, Jeff Hornacek now 9 points in the game. Corey Carr gets Brent Berry, and it's too bad because Berry, with 8 points here in the third quarter, has to have a seat on the bench with 4 personal fouls. Corey Carr, a pretty good shooter at Texas Tech, but has been struggling with his shot since joining the Bulls. Isley to Malone. Facing Andrew Lang. Takes him off the dribble. Bulls working the boards hard. Andrew Lang comes up with a rebound.
That was a case of Karl Malone just trying to throw his body into Andrew Lang to draw the foul, but Andrew stayed high on him with his hands just straight up and down, so the call wasn't made.
Corey Carr. Anderson the rebound. Jazz on the run. They've got numbers. Isley, Malone, and he left it short. Hornacek makes good.
Just can't give up on the play. That long shot down there led to a long rebound. You've got to get everybody running back and take up some space. Don't assume that the layup's going to go in. That's one where you could have gotten the basketball and maybe run down to the other end yourself.
I think the 2 guys who were trailing the play did give up, as you mentioned. They were right there for that rebound. They thought Malone had made it. Foul coming up here against Utah's Shandon Anderson. It's his 3rd personal. That's 4 on Utah. The Bulls picked up 3 team fouls early in the third quarter, and that's all they have right now. Adam Keefe, former Atlanta Hawk, #1 draft choice, is on for Shandon Anderson. Corey Carr, Cornell David, and he took the pass with a foot on the sideline. You know, you talked about it the other night in Indiana. the Bulls can ill afford turnovers. They struggle offensively. They need to make good on almost every possession, and turnovers just put a crimp in any kind of offensive momentum.
You'd like to get shots every time down the floor, and those type of things where Cornell David was open, it's really an unforced turnover. He just stepped on the sideline.
The Bulls have done a pretty good job thus far in the game tonight, taking care of the basketball. Malone tied up this time by Andrew Lang, and that's Andrew's third personal foul, 4 on the team.
Andrew looks pretty comfortable playing Karl Malone, and the Bulls in the past, when Luke Longley was around, they used to play him on Karl Malone, and what Karl would oftentimes do is step out on the floor and then try to take him off the dribble. But Andrew Lang has done a pretty good job. The Bulls have limited Karl Malone in a lot of areas tonight.
Karl Malone with 12 points, all of which came in the first half of play. Andrew Lang has been part of the defensive entourage against Utah's low-post star. We've got a break. We'll be back.
He's going to take 4 shots for $25,000 in that 60 seconds. He needs to hit a layup, a foul shot, a 3-point shot, and a half-court shot in that order. If he hits all 4 shots, he gets $45,000, right?
All right, gentlemen, let's do it. First, we're going to go with the layup, my friend.
Okay, you're going to show this?
Here he goes. This is Jared Smith for $25,000 for the layup.
Okay, so it's 2 Brent Berries, right?
The foul shot for Jared.
And then
The 3-point shot is for
2, okay.
T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, he has 8 points in the quarter.
To Los Angeles for the weekend.
And don't forget, King Bull 93 has a King Bull 93.
Whoa.
$4 million run for the roses. That's Monday at 7:15. Johnson & Johnson, King Bull 93. Thank you, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Jared.
At midpoint, your attention to the temperature of the afternoon scores. If afternoon satisfaction is 0.
Yes. On Tuesday, February 9th, when the Bulls host the Atlanta Hawks, it's Miller Genuine Draft Championship Ring Night. First 20,000 adults, 21 and over, entering the United Center to receive a Bulls championship ring. Compliments of Miller Genuine Draft. Brent Berry showing a little bit of his game right there on the assist, and he can also play a role in the passing lanes as well.
He's come out in the third quarter. He's in foul trouble now. Ability to shoot the 3-point shot. Been very aggressive here in the third quarter after getting just 1 field goal attempt in the first half.
Here's a look at Brent Berry. 8 points in a red-hot third quarter, and now on the bench due to the foul difficulty. Malone misses his first, his second upcoming. Wow, almost missed them both. 13 for Malone as he splits a pair. Utah's lead again is 14. Randy Brown, Corey Carr the backcourt, Cornell David, Toni Kukoc, Andrew Lang up front. Toni was hot earlier in this quarter, has missed his last couple of shots. Isley back the other way, running the break. Throw Bailey, resends it back outside to Isley.
They want to get Bailey in the post. He has Corey Carr on it.
And the steal by Carr. Good job of running Bailey. Cornell David on the drive.
A good job of the Bulls of running up the floor, recognizing that Utah was kind of holding in the backcourt, and one of the few times that the Bulls have gotten out in their transition game, been able to complete the play.
Well, we mentioned Cornell David struggled on the defensive end of the second quarter, but he did deliver 8 points for the Bulls. He now has 10 in the game and making 11 points off the bench for the Bulls. That foul was on Howard Isley.
Let's face it, the one area that this Bulls team may struggle this year is scoring. We saw that in the first half when Toni was out of the lineup, Brent Berry out of the lineup, Ron Harper got some foul trouble. So they're going to need guys that can score a little bit and can create their own shot. And it looks like Cornell David has that ability and the willingness to attack the basket, look for his perimeter game.
Corey Carr guilty of a hand check as Bill Wennington steps back onto the floor, and Andrew Lang, who did a pretty good job down low, has a seat on the bench. Bulls over the foul limit, and Jeff Hornacek going to the line. Hornacek, another good free throw shooter. Take a look at the active leaders. And Hornacek second on that list, and right tight with Reggie Miller at the top of the leaderboard, so to speak. Hornacek, 13 points for Jerry Sloan's Utah Jazz, and they lead by 13.
Now we'll see now what the Bulls decide to do defensively. Without Lang in the game or Bryant and Malone still on the floor, they're going to have to send maybe Bill Wennington against him. That probably means they're going to double team Karl if they go to him down in the block.
Good ball movement by the Bulls. Corey Carr gets an open look. Has to hit that shot. Adam Keefe the rebound. Lead Malone. Yes, and a foul. Karl Malone runs the floor as well as any big man in basketball.
He started even with everybody down at the other end, and just it's the willingness to get out and run, and you know that your guards are going to throw the ball if you're ahead of the pack defensively, and that was Howard Isley making a great lead pass to Malone. He's able to finish. So now you've taken him where he struggled a little bit in this quarter, but you've given him an opportunity on the break to get an easy basket.
Malone, who has that hesitation, drew a couple of people into the lane.
Here you go. You see him. He just runs by the defense. A little miscommunication between Corey Carr, Bill Wennington. Remember, the Bulls are trying to get two guards back defensively, one at the basket to take those type of things away. They weren't able to do it that time down.
A minute 44 to go in the third. Utah leading 84-68. Kukoc quick release. An air ball, and Thurl Bailey retrieves. Hornacek running the break. Keefe down low, blocked by Carr. Got a foul coming up.
Again, they're running it. And we just talked about the fact the Bulls are trying to get one guard back to the basket, but they have to wait till a big man gets back to release. That time they're concerned about the guys running, and it leaves the basket area open. That's Corey Carr down there where he doesn't get back and take that away. He does do a good job of making a block, but by that time you had the Jazz right on top of it.
Adam Keefe.
Tony at the other end got a baseline shot. He thought he was hit on the play. Again, we're seeing those long shots for the Bulls in this game have resulted in rebounds by the Jazz and then the opportunity to run up the floor.
Some of those long rebounds come out almost like turnovers, and a team's able to garner them in the open floor and go right to the bucket. The same effect as a turnover at midcourt. Randy Brown knocked out of bounds. It'll belong to Chicago. Jazz on a 9-3 run after the Bulls had cut the gap. Bulls had it under double digits for a moment. And in the last 3 minutes, the Jazz have been able to break things open. Time winding down to the shot clock. Beautiful move. Corey Carr jumping into the lane.
He's missed a couple perimeter shots, so he was reluctant to take that one, but it was a good aggressive move into the lane. Showed some quickness there to beat his man.
A minute to go. Third quarter from Utah. Isley against Randy Brown. Hornacek challenged by Corey Carr. They clear it out for him. They call another hand check on Corey Carr. David Jones has called 2 in a row in this third quarter on him.
We've seen that a couple times in the game, and that's been emphasized in the past. The fact when a guy faces the basket, you can't put your hand on him. Exactly. He's not putting it on the floor.
Not with an open palm.
Absolutely. So, and it's right when it's done right in front of the official, and that's something that when they're being reviewed and looked at, that's what they get called on. So they have to make that call.
David Jones looked over at Tim Clay, said, "Hey, I've got a call. It's an automatic."
Absolutely.
Hornacek now with 14 points in the game. Carr leaves. Brent Berry back on. Berry playing with 4 personal fouls.
The Bulls really kind of lost that edge that they had in the third when Brent went out with that 4th foul.
No question. Berry had 8 quick points in the third quarter, then had to sit down. 15 now for Hornacek in the game. Utah's lead is 17. Brown to Kukoc. Tony gets Brent Berry an open look for 3. And got a push coming up down low. It's going to be on Adam Keefe. His first. Team is over the limit now. Dickie Simpkins back on for Chicago. Cornell David leads. David with 11 points in the game, 8 of which came in the second quarter. And Toni, who's been no better than break even at the line here tonight for the most part, misses the front end.
Well, Toni has a tendency on the free throw line to fall back and not stay solid with his shot, and a lot of times he doesn't give the ball a real opportunity to go in. He has to stay solid up there, stay with his shot, stay with his follow through, and he'll shoot a higher percentage. Remember, he shot just 71% last year, and we talked about it. If he's going to get to the line a lot, you got to make defenses pay for fouling.
You've got to be shooting about 80% if you're going to get there a lot. Shot clock on the left, game clock on the right of your screen. You can see the difference. Isley checked by Randy Brown. 5 to go on the shot clock. Oh, Wennington, nice tip. Bulls on the run with numbers. Berry to Wennington. No foul as he was pushed on the drive. Adam Key for 3. No. And the third period, it comes to a close. It started promisingly for the Bulls, but Utah, with a late run, has extended their advantage over Tim Floyd and the Bulls to 87-71. Fourth quarter is just ahead. What are you going to show us? Yeah, that's good. Here's Pax with tonight's Ameritech play that makes a difference.
You see Karl Malone recognizing a mismatch. Corey Carr defending Thurl Bailey down low. Corey Carr does a good job getting in front. What we don't see is a good pressure on the basketball by Randy Brown. The high pass leads to a transition basket for the Bulls as we see Cornell David filling the lane well and a strong finish at the basket.
Bulls were outscored 28-27 in that third quarter. And they start the fourth quarter with Randy Brown, Brent Berry, Ron Harper, Mark Bryant, and Dickie Simpkins. Harper operating in the lane.
And that was against a good post defender in Shandon Anderson, about the same size as Harper. Harper did a nice job of getting his body set, turning into the defense, and scoring over the top of Shandon Anderson.
Brown guilty of a push.
You can see what Randy Brown's trying to do. He's trying to make Howard Isley work up the floor and work to get in that operating area on the wing. That's where the Jazz initiate a lot of their offense. And Randy Brown right now trying to take that area away from Isley.
Jazz trying to get some spacing here. And the entry intended for Malone knocked away by Berry. Last touch by the Jazz.
He's got those long arms. We saw it on the one transition play where he stepped in the passing lane. He's got long arms where he can play guys that are trying to make the pass to the post, get his hands on. He's done it 3 or 4 times in this game.
Berry draws contact at the foul. To finish your point on Brent Berry, if there's any criticism of his game, it's on the defensive end, but he has the capability, as you mentioned, physically with those long arms. And he certainly works hard enough to be a decent defensive player.
Right, and I think sometimes too, as a player, when you're kind of labeled that way, you make a real effort to get better in that area. And he's going to have to guard some pretty tough two guards in this league. But I also think that Brent has, because of his size and those long arms, there's going to be certain point guards in this league that he's going to be able to play, not as a pressure guard, but just able to play off of them, make it difficult for them to make passes.
Quick entry into Malone. A rebound chased down by Brent Berry, and here come the Bulls. Berry going behind his back, lost it. Howard Isley past Randy Brown. Harper got a piece of it, and the tip by Adam Keefe.
And that Brent just got a little too cute with his dribble, right into traffic, tried to make a play, and you just can't afford to do that against a good team like Utah. They were able to finish on the other end. So they take your turnovers, turn them into baskets for themselves.
No doubt they make you pay. Harper. Keefe battling on the board. Utah leading by 15. Thurl Bailey. Bryant, good position to the rebound. This is Randy Brown, has Berry in the corner, goes to Simpkins, the post lane runner.
This group doing a good job at least getting out on the floor and running. They did a nice job. Rebound, quick outlet. Dickie Simpkins saw an opening up the middle of the floor, ran the lane hard.
Isley, Shandon Anderson. Oh, here's a tip by Randy Brown. The steal, Brent Berry. Berry pulls up for three. Make it two. He had a foot on the line. 13 for Brent Berry, and now Utah wants a timeout. So suddenly, 16-point lead has shrunk to 11. 89-78, Utah with 9:43 to go in the game.
We'll see Stockton come back. Randy's been harassing Isley really good.
He has, yeah.
He's been very effective. So I think that's where Sloan takes the timeout. He's going to say, I got to get this game under control.
7-2 Bulls run in the opening, well, almost 2.5 minutes. Read the Discover card. Oh, you're going to do the, okay.
Utah would not be complete without one last look at the final basket of Michael Jordan. On tonight's Discover Card Payback Playback, our trip to Utah would not be complete without one last look at the final basket of Michael Jordan's great career. This jumper gave the Bulls a 1-point lead en route to their 6th NBA championship in the last 8 years.
Brent Berry has helped fuel the Bulls back into this one. They trail by 11 as they have outscored Utah 7-2 at the outset of the fourth quarter, and John Stockton is back in. So is Brian Russell for Utah. Anthony Avent on the floor as well. Stockton penetrating. Thurl Bailey had it knocked away by Randy Brown, picked up by Ron Harper. Brown thought traveling on Harper as Stockton made him stop on the dribble. Now the Bulls set up some half court. Simpkins comes to a high post. 5 to go on the shot clock for Harper. Mark Bryant. Bryant gets it back in among the trees.
The Bulls are lucky that possession. They never really got into anything offensively. Finally, as the shot clock winded down, Mark Bryant did a good job at least getting up a couple opportunities. The Bulls were able to capitalize and get the lead now under 10.
9-2 run Chicago. Stockton looking to operate. Finds Anderson for three.
That's where they say he has improved his game. He knows that he has to become a better perimeter shooter. He's knocked down a couple long-range jump shots, but that's John Stockton turning the corner on the baseline, and the Bulls not taking away that pass from underneath all the way across the floor. That's where Shandon Anderson was open.
And again, Utah double-digit lead. Harper on the block against Shandon Anderson. It's been a good matchup. Harper to the reverse. No, but a foul. Harper almost had enough English on it. Foul is coming up, and it's on Thurl Bailey, his first.
And I like, too, the fact that Ron Harper is making his way down to the post, been aggressive down there, because the Bulls, outside of guys like Mark Bryant in the game now, and Toni Kukoc, you need other people to step in that role, and Ron has been very willing. Early in the game, it was against the smaller guard and John Stockton. But we've seen here in this half where he's gone against Shandon Anderson, who's a strong post defender, and Ron's beaten him a couple times now.
Let's pause for station identification. Harper, 1 out of 2 at the line. He has 16 points in the game. Kukoc and Barry are back in for Chicago. Stockton sets it up. Bulls trail by 11. 4 minutes gone by, fourth quarter. Avent tries a turn on Simpkins, and he traveled. Good call. That's a call that they wouldn't make on Karl Malone, but Anthony Avent, they're very comfortable making that call, even here in Utah.
The Bulls go to a little open set now to form their triangle with Toni Kukoc in the middle of the floor.
This is something that worked very effectively in the second half at Indiana the other night. Simpkins, under 10 to go on the shot clock. Barry looking to deal on Stockton. He got a whistle early on that drive, and the foul is on Stockton. It's his second. 3 team fouls on Utah. Karl Malone back on, and Thurl Bailey leads. Bailey, a former #1 draft choice of these Utah Jazz. Harper penetrates into the lane. Ron Harper now with 18 points.
Good strong drive on the side out of bounds play where the middle was open and Ron just attacked.
And the Bulls back to within 9 once again. Stockton. Harper poked it away on the steal. Bulls in transition. Barry's pass for Kukoc was tipped out of bounds by Utah. I believe that was Avent who got a piece of it.
How about the D by Harp down at the other end? Looked like Stockton to turn the corner was going to go in and lay it up, and Ron plays from angles defensively better than anybody maybe I've ever seen. He just has a knack for doing that and getting his hands on balls.
Malone tried to save but ran out of real estate at the baseline, so this possession will continue for the Bulls.
And Tim Floyd's going to take a timeout. I think it's a real good timeout to get his team organized now, knowing this is a big possession. You can cut the lead to either 5 or, to 7 or 6.
They're going for a full timeout here, so the Jazz talk it over around Jerry Sloan. The Bulls visiting with Tim Floyd. We have 7 minutes straight up to go in the game. The Bulls trail by 9. Are you coming back for this, or do you want me to do the drop-in? On Tuesday, February 9th, when the Bulls host the Atlanta Hawks, it's Miller Genuine Draft Championship ring night. First 20,000 adults, 21 and over, entering the United Center, receive a Bulls championship ring. Compliments of Miller Genuine Draft. Bulls have outscored Utah 12-5 in the first 5 minutes of this fourth quarter. Nice entry into Kukoc to the left hand.
It worked because you had Toni Kukoc set a back screen and then roll right to the basket. He was open, a good post pass there from Brent Barry.
This is the closest the Bulls have been since the second quarter. They're down by just 7.
And that's a nice sign too, because that's coming out of a timeout where you've had a chance to get with your team, diagram something, they ran it well, executed, got a score.
Anderson to Stockton, 3 to go on the shot clock. Stockton with a quick release and a brick. Shot clock violation. He did not hit the rim. And the Bulls get it back. So right now, the team that appears to be a little disheveled is Utah, not Chicago.
The Bulls defense has been active and aggressive, and I would expect Utah to try to get Karl Malone something in these situations. They have not gone to him very often. I look for them to try to get him something down the block, maybe force a double team, or maybe play that screen and roll with Ian Stockton.
Brent Barry, Ron Harper, Toni Kukoc, Dickie Simpkins, Mark Bryant on the floor for the Bulls. Bulls trailing by 7. Harper on the block. Against Anderson. Double down from Malone. The ball tipped away as Harp tried to pass out of the double team. Here come the Jazz. Russell makes them pay.
Oh, yeah, they really hurt you. That Bulls have possession, an opportunity to really cut into the lead. And Utah didn't come with the quick double team. They let Harper take a couple of dribbles, and then Malone came as a big player, made it tough to pass out of that. And we've seen him a couple times in this half turn Bulls turnovers into easy scores.
Kukoc makes the turn. Malone from behind tried to tip it away again.
And they're going to call a foul.
Tim Floyd pacing the sidelines. His team is back to within 9. Chance to cut it to 7 here, or 6 if they hit a tray. Tony will inbound. Ron Harper against Stockton. Gets a screen from Bryant. Stockton knocked it away. Harper able to collect. Tried to go to Kukoc to the baseline. Malone knocked it away and picked it up. Here's Stockton. Malone inside, and a foul coming up. That time they fronted Malone, and it was Bryant coming from behind, and as Malone turned, he collided with Bryant. The foul on Mark Bryant is his 5th.
Just a little subtle thing. John Stockton held on to the ball long enough. He saw Bryant there initially. He held on to it and made Bryant move up the floor, knowing that if he moving up to the free throw line area for just a second, that cleared the backside long enough where it was a longer run for Mark Bryant to get down there. By that time, Malone's at the basket, and he just has to throw his body into the deep defender, and he gets to the free throw line. But now you've seen a couple of turnovers that in key situations that have really hurt the Bulls.
And this is what happened in Indiana the other night. The Bulls were right there, but a couple of 3 turnovers down the stretch just killed them. And that's something that, I think that's where the lack of familiarity
absolutely, you're right,
comes into play.
There's no doubt about that. They 2 weeks of practice, a ton of new guys. They're just not as comfortable as they would like to be with one another out on the floor.
Kukoc for 2. But I'll tell you what, Pax, you've got to be encouraged by what you see here in this fourth quarter. Under 5 minutes to go, and the Bulls are down by just 9.
No question, but they're doing it with veteran lineup. When Tim Floyd has had his veteran guys out on the floor that know how to play, they've been okay out there.
Dickie Simpkins to Harper. Harp on the drive. Barry almost tipped it home. Here comes Russell. Nearly ridden off the play by Harper. Now Stockton pulls up.
Just didn't get matched. Wayne, if the Bulls do lose this game, we're going to point to 3 or 4 possessions in this quarter that they had capitalized on. It would have put them right in the game, but they're not able to. That time, a transition opportunity. Hart misses it. Brent Barry's right there at the rim, can't complete the dunk. And again, Utah runs down to the other end and gets a basket.
As close as 7 here tonight have the Bulls been in the fourth quarter to Jerry Sloan of the Utah Jazz. They now trail by 11. And here's tonight's highlight game brought to you by Miller Lite, proud sponsor of the Chicago Bulls.
Orlando defeated the New York Knicks 93-85 tonight in the NBA opener at Orlando. And the Knicks will be in Chicago next Thursday night, and that's our next game here on WGN.
And I like Orlando's team this year.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
Quietly, they improved themselves. They have an inside scorer in Ike Austin now, so Penny Hardaway doesn't always have to run down there. And you've got now Bo Outlaw, Horace Grant as forwards. They have Nick Anderson coming off a great year. They kept some of their bench players, so I think that's a team that could be maybe a sleeper in this Eastern Conference when you come to playoff time.
And I think the Knicks are far from a finished product. People are talking about them as a favorite in the East. I don't think so, at least not yet. Bulls shooting very well in this fourth quarter of play, but they're still down by 11. 10 to go on the shot clock. Kukoc. Harper rebounds, tipped away by Stockton. He knocked it out of bounds. Boy, is he everywhere or what?
He's always around the ball defensively. You can count on that, and that's where in the past shooters have had to make him pay because he's always roaming. But guarding a guy like Ron Harper, who likes to post here in this situation, he finds himself around the basket.
Malone swatted it out of there. Kukoc for two.
Well, he's had a couple right on the line. There's just another maybe half a step back, and he hits a three.
Malone, Avent, could not connect. Berry and Simpkins were all over it, and Dickey the rebound. Bryant was there as well. Swarming defense by the Bulls on that trip. Utah leading by 9. Tony wants it on the block against Hornacek. Kukoc to the fall away. Bring it up!
He's just playing with so much confidence. And that's just good patience offensively, recognition of where the mismatch is, and then Tony not hesitating when he gets the ball on the block.
4 field goals for Kukoc here in the fourth. Quick delivery, Avent, no, but he was fouled.
Well, you see what the Bulls are trying to do defensively right now. They've saved this until this time in the game. They're bringing Dickey Simpkins up the floor to half court to try to take the ball out of John Stockton's hands. But all Utah is doing is moving Karl Malone into the middle of the floor. That puts them in a situation where they have 3-on-2 to the basket, and Anthony Avent's been the guy that's open underneath. He wasn't able to complete the first one. This time he draws the foul.
The foul is on Brent Berry, and Brent picks up his 5th. 3:15 for the game.
But I would much rather see a guy like Brent Berry, even with foul trouble, take that foul in that situation, because you don't want to give up the easy score. You want to force them to go up and shoot 2 free throws.
I would much rather see Anthony Avent shoot from here, 15 feet away, than right underneath.
Well, we'll see what they do. The last 2 possessions, they've used this defense, trying to take the ball to Stockton's hands against a veteran team, a team that's seen every defense thrown at John Stockton. We'll see how Utah responds. They've gotten a couple real easy looks.
Judicious foul. He made just 1 out of 2 instead of flushing it for 2 points. Berry. This is Tony. Right back to Brent Berry. Finds Simpkins on the drive. Malone knocked it away. Hornacek up and running. Boy, the veterans, Stockton and Malone on the defensive end, have made big plays down the stretch here in this fourth quarter. Stockton, they clear it out for him. Avent. Hornacek for 3. Kukoc the rebound. Bulls dodge a dagger there. 8-point lead, Utah. Good spacing here for the Bulls on this set. Harper from deep for 3. Avent able to garner the rebound. Mark Bryant just mistimed his leap. Malone on the run. You can never forget about Karl Malone on the break in the open floor.
It goes back to running ahead of him, not on the side of him or even with him or trailing him, because he's going to beat you down the floor. You got to somehow get out of the pack on a rebound situation and beat him up the floor.
Kukoc tipped away by Russell. Knocked out of bounds by Russell. Utah's defense in the quick hands of the Jazz coming to the fore. The lead is 10 with 1:48 to go in Salt Lake City, despite a 30-point effort by Toni Kukoc. So they're on their feet here in Utah with the Bulls trailing by 10.
Let me see it.
I think Dickey just kind of didn't think much. He fell asleep on it, it looked like to me.
Yeah, let me see it again, yeah. Yeah, run it from there. Run it from there.
It's slow.
It's like when we saw Brent Berry earlier in the half when he didn't pick the ankle. I mean, Dickey's turning around and he's not aware of Karl Malone.
I agree. He's not aware. That's the key phrase. He's not aware. Yeah.
We can show it. I don't know what to really telestrate though, unless you want me to do like a little circle spinning Dickey's head around. Okay.
Here's Malone, and here's Dickey. Perfect. Yeah. See, he's got his head turned. That's the whole thing. Not aware of Malone. Yeah. All right, Pax, draw it up for us. This is the last Utah break.
Well, here you see Karl Malone running, but look at Dickey Simpkins' head right here. It's turned toward the middle of the floor, but here's Malone running. So Dickey Simpkins never gets the angle to take away from Karl Malone. He runs right to the basket when John Stockton delivers him the ball. Here it is. There you see him. He's too late when he turns now. He doesn't have the angle to cut him off, and Malone gets to the basket.
Take a look at the Utah break here tonight. Has been prevalent. The Bulls, much of theirs coming in the second half when they closed within 7 with just under 7 minutes to go in the game. Now Kukoc. Time winding down to the shot clock. Toni. 32 for Toni Kukoc.
We got a matchup with Karl Malone. Karl had to give him some ground out on the perimeter, so Toni was really able to line him up, size up the situation, and take him off the dribble. Here are the Bulls again with that double team to take the ball to Stockton's hands.
Malone going back door, and Russell maybe not expecting the pass. Tough pass to handle. Russell pointed to himself, said, hey, wait a minute, I should have been awake on that.
Here you see Malone out on the wing. He gives Toni a little ground. He forces him to the middle. Toni just that step back. That's a tough shot. Pretty good defense, actually, but Toni's been shooting it very well. And on this end, that was really a poor pass from Karl Malone. Yep. One-hander that skips off the floor.
Kukoc for 3.
He thought he got hit again. That's twice in the half that he's thought he's been hit on the elbow. And Malone just runs down the floor to the other end.
70 seconds remaining in the game. The Bulls trailing by 8. Stockton off a screen by Malone. They covered him up well on that screen roll. Now tries to enter it to Malone, and Harper playing over the top, knocked it out of bounds. 4 seconds to go on the shot clock for Utah. They played that screen roll about as well as you could.
Very well. Now Toni Kukoc has to get back in the play. He's over complaining to the official. You do not want to give them an easy shot, and they get one off the side out of baseline out of bounds.
Stockton comes up short. Brent Berry with it. Under a minute to go in the game, and the Bulls trailing by 8. Kukoc, quick turn on Russell. Simpkins able to chase down.
They reset the 24-second clock, and I think they're saying that the ball did not hit the rim. I thought it grazed the rim.
I thought it did graze the rim. Well, they're going to talk it over. We'll remind you on Thursday, February 11th, when the Bulls host the Knicks, it's Mother's Bread Lunch Bag Night. First 5,000 kids 14 and under entering the United Center will receive a Bulls lunch bag, compliments of Mother's Bread. Career high 34 points. Back in 1996, he has 32 tonight. So Toni crowding a career high, but his Bulls trailing with 55.7 seconds remaining here in Utah to the Jazz, 101-93. They haven't changed anything yet, have they? They haven't changed the clock. Still 22 seconds.
Yeah. I thought it hit the rim.
I did too. I think that was the correct call by the guy at the desk here. I'd say NBA officiating, it's awful.
Hey, thank goodness though they got those veteran guys back.
Oh God, yeah.
Otherwise. Play like this on Sunday.
could win.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, it's been little things in the second half. Just little awareness things that they haven't come up with. Yes.
Chicago shot did not hit the rim. The shot clock was incorrectly reset. Chicago now has a 10-second shot clock remaining.
Toni Kukoc, 32 points, 12 of 22 shooting from the field, 5 rebounds here tonight. The Bulls trailing 101-93, under a minute to go. They've got the ball. Malone got a piece of that pass. Kukoc comes up with it, leans in, tough shot. Rebound batted, Simpkins fouled. Yes, it counts.
Strong finish in traffic by Dickey Simpkins. They tried to run a little play out of that side out of bounds to get Toni Kukoc going over the top with Malone guarding him. He gets in the lane. Look at how many defenders are around him now. So that leaves the boards open. You have Dickey on the backside. He's just able to clean up the mess. But you like the strong finish in traffic, and now you have a chance to complete a three-point play.
Hey, he has not played bad here tonight. Those 4 rebounds. Some pretty important rebounds in the second half, and 4 points for Dickey Simpkins. Utah 101-95, and Simpkins completes the three-point play. And a quick foul, Brent Berry on Hornacek, and that would be it for Brent. That stops the clock with 3:08 to go, and the Bulls trailing by just 5.
They had a foul to give. You'd like to try to keep the ball out of Hornacek's hands if you can.
That should be it on Brent Berry.
Utah is going to send Anthony Avin all the way down the floor. That's the one guy that they don't want to touch the ball. They've got 3 real good free throw shooters in Stockton, Hornacek, and Russell in the backcourt. That's who they'll try to inbound the ball to and get fouled and make their free throws.
Brent Berry, whose play here tonight was sporadic due mostly to foul trouble, but 13 points for Berry. And Randy Brown comes on. Brown will guard Stockton. 5-point ball game. Hornacek. Bulls pressure in the backcourt. This will mean free throws coming up for Hornacek as Harper gives up the foul.
And they were able to use a little clock in the backcourt, making a few passes. The Bulls couldn't catch up to him right away.
And that'll send Hornacek to the free throw line. Ron Harper's 4th personal. Hornacek at the line tonight, 5 for 5 as expected. 15 points for Jeff from LaGrange, Illinois. What an effort. Great effort here tonight by these Bulls. On the road, one of the most hostile arenas to play in. Brand new ball club, and they have hung right with the Utah Jazz. 17 for Hornacek. Utah reestablishes a 7-point margin with 26.3 remaining. On Thursday, February 11th, when the Bulls host the New York Knicks, it's Mother's Bread Lunch Bag Night. First 5,000 kids, 14 and under, entering the United Center, receive a beautiful Bulls lunch bag. Compliments of Mother's Bread. Be something good to take your lunch to school with. Toni Kukoc, 32 points. Boy, he has been. We talked about he and Brent Berry, John, in the spotlight. Actually, Toni in the spotlight tonight. But Brent Berry and Toni at the top of the show as the new go-to people for the Chicago Bulls. And again, they've combined for 45 of the 96 Chicago points, with Toni getting 32 of them.
I think that what we're seeing with Toni is a player who understands the situation. The guy's gone. He is the primary focus offensively, and night in and night out, he's going to have to step up and be willing to take shots. And I think Toni's challenge is to go out there every night, and even if he's not shooting well, to continue to look for his offense.
And it's something he should be comfortable with. That's what he grew up with in Europe. He was always the go-to man back home. Hey, take a good look. You won't recognize the new look New York Knicks. The faces have changed, but the rivalry is still intense. Patrick Ewing, Latrell Sprewell, and the Knicks visit the United Center next Thursday night, beginning with a bullseye at 7 p.m. here on WGN. Knicks fell on the road at Orlando tonight. Atlanta beat Cleveland 183 tonight. Charlotte over Philadelphia's, or I should say Philadelphia over Charlotte 78-66. Some low-scoring games of the NBA.
But Charlotte has all those injuries now. Rice and Anthony Mason out of the lineup. And they have to work Derek Coleman now into a new situation and system. So they may struggle for a while.
They were going to play Coleman at center, and in order to do that, they had to have Mason at the power forward spot. Boy, what are they going to do now? Brent Berry on the bench. He fouled out of the ball game with 13 points, 26.3 seconds remaining. Bryant on the inbounds for the Bulls comes to Harper. Harper driving on Hornacek to the fall away. Comes up short. Hornacek to Stockton. Time winding down. Stolen by Rusty LaRue. Step back three out of the corner. Just short. Rebound tipped out of bounds by Russell. 11.5 remaining. It's Bulls basketball.
Yeah, I like the fact they didn't give up on the play, kept chasing the ball down, and get a real good corner look from Rusty LaRue.
Tim Floyd has not had a lot of time to put much defense in. Here's the inbound to Harper. Had his man pinned deep, trying to wrap around a pass around Ostertag. Bryant, a tough shot there. Malone the rebound, and he is tied up by Simpkins, the foul. That stops the clock with 3.6 remaining. Dickey comes up smiling along with Karl Malone. The Utah Jazz are going to come away with a victory here tonight, Pax, but there's no question they were in a ball game all the way with these scrappy Chicago Bulls.
The Bulls played very well. I think defensively, after giving up 59 points in the first half, they kind of got into a rhythm in the second half defensively, stopped Utah. They were aggressive, played well, and I think what you saw too is the veteran guys on this roster are the ones who really played well, and they played big in this game. And even though they're not going to come out of here with a win, there are a lot of positives to be taken out of this. And they're going to lose by 7 or 8, but talk about little things. All those little, couple turnovers in key situations that Utah was able to run down the floor and score on. Just bad passes, maybe some poor decisions. Remember the one transition score that Malone got when Dickey had his head turned the wrong way. All those little things add up in a very close ball game, but encouraging signs.
The Utah Jazz win here tonight, 104-96. But for Tim Floyd and his new-look Bulls, not a bad effort by any stretch of the imagination against this veteran, playoff-hardened Utah Jazz team, a team that's one of the favorites in the West to get back to the NBA Finals. Not a bad job by any means by the Chicago Bulls. So from here, it's on to Los Angeles to take on the Clippers. And Pax, you said it while we were away for a commercial. They played this well in Los Angeles against the Clippers. They're liable to come back home 1-1.
Well, I think what everybody's expecting is this team to just kind of drop over and not be competitive. And I think what we've seen is this team playing in their system. They're learning how to play out of it. You have some guys who can score in Toni Kukoc, Ron Harper, Brent Berry. I thought Mark Bryant gave real solid minutes in this game. So yeah, they're going to have to go in. What this will do, though, I think it'll send or at least make the league take notice that the Bulls have some guys who can play. And it's not going to be a night off when they do walk into someone's building.
No question about it. Pax, enjoyed working with you.
I did too, Wayne. Thanks very much.
See you next week, pal. And for Dan Roan and John Paxson, Wayne Larrabee saying so long from Salt Lake City. Our next telecast at WGN TV will be Thursday night when the Bulls and New York Knicks tip it off at the United Center. Our broadcast begins with the Bullseye at 7 p.m. Well, Toni Kukoc led the way for the Bulls on 12 of 23 shooting from the floor. 32 points, just 2 off his career high. But in the end, it was Stockton and Malone, tried and true, the very basis of the Utah Jazz break. And they led the way. Malone 21, Stockton 13 points, 12 assists, as Utah wins it here tonight, 104-96. Stay tuned, WGN News is next.